And next, coming to our topic, we are discussing about the secondary growth. Okay, secondary growth is usually observed in case of dicots rather than monocots. Okay, when you observe this dicots, okay, when you observe the secondary growth in the stem, okay, the secondary growth, the tissue which is responsible for secondary growth is the lateral meristem or secondary meristem, which is represented by the cambium. Okay. Okay, when you observe here, in case of dicot stem, we'll find two types of cambium, that is a fascicular cambium, and the second one is a cork cambium. Fascicular cambium, and the second one is a cork cambium. Okay, when you observe here, when you observe the vascular bundles in case of dicotyledonous stem is described as a conjoint, open type, and end arc xylem. Okay, that is both the xylem and phloem are present on the same radius adjacent to one another, that is on the same that is side by side, okay, one above the other in the on the same radius. Okay, that's why we are calling it as conjoint, and we are describing it as open type because of the cambium, that is the intravascular cambium. A cambium called as a intravascular cambium is present separating the xylem and phloem. That's why we are describing it as an open type. And the xylem is present when you observe the xylem. In the xylem, okay, the protoxylem is present towards the inner side and metaxylem towards the outer side. That's why we are calling it as a end arc xylem. So these are the features of the vascular bundles of a dicotyledonous stem. So why we are describing about this vascular bundle means because okay, the cambium that is present, okay, the cambium that is present in between the xylem and phloem, which we are calling it as intravascular cambium. Along with that, there is another cambium called intervascular. Okay, these two cambia, okay, these two cambia which are present, okay, which are present are responsible for the secondary growth in dicot stem mainly. Okay, when you observe here, the cambium that is present between the xylem and phloem within the vascular bundle, we are calling it as a intravascular cambium. Okay, and at the same time, when you observe some of the parenchymatous cells, some of the parenchymatous cells that are present in the medullary rays adjacent to the intravascular cambium, okay, will undergo dedifferentiation. As a result, the parenchymatous cells are converted into, okay, meristematic cells, which has the ability to divide. Okay, and this one, okay, and this cambium which is developed, okay, from the medullary rays adjoining to the intravascular cambium, we are calling it as intervascular cambium. Okay, the intervascular cambium, okay, of the, okay, which is developed at the adjacent vascular bundles will, okay, will grow in opposite direction and finally merges, okay, or joins at one point, and finally all these intervascular cambium joins with the intravascular cambium and forms a ring like structure called a cambial ring, and forms a structure called as a cambial ring. Okay, that is what we can see here. Okay, the cambial ring. Okay, already okay, okay, when, okay, for, okay, when you observe the dicotyledonous stem, when you observe the dicotyledonous stem, okay, here we can see the dicotyledonous stemma. Okay, this is xylem, this is phloem. Okay, in between, we are finding the intravascular cambium. Okay, and next, okay, when you observe here, okay, this is the cambium, that is what we call it as the intravascular cambium. Okay, this represents the medullary race. Okay, it is made up of parenchymatous cells. Okay, some of the parenchymatous cells which are present adjacent to this cambium, these parenchymatous cells will undergo dedifferentiation. That means the permanent tissue is converted into a meristematic tissue. That means again regains the cells to undergo cell division. That is this process we are calling it as a dedifferentiation, and this transforms into a cambium. This cambium is present between two vascular bundles. We are calling it as interfascicular cambium, and this interfascicular cambium will grow towards the adjacent vascular bundle. Okay, that is so when you observe here. So when you observe here, so when you observe here, this is okay. This is this green color layer is representing the cambium. So this is the intravascular cambium, and here the cambium will be developed. Okay, which we are calling it as intervascular cambium. Okay, the intervascular cambium which is developed in this vascular bundle will grow in this direction, and at the same time, okay, here also some intervascular cambium will be developed. This one will grow towards the adjacent vascular bundle in this direction. So, okay, that means they will move the intervascular cambium which is developed at the adjacent vascular bundles. They move in opposite direction. Finally, they meet with another one, and finally they meet with the intravascular cambium also, and finally forms a ring-like structure called as a cambial ring, like this we can obtain like this. Okay, we can observe the cambial ring like this. So because this is intravascular cambium, this is intervascular cambium, which is developed from the opposite vascular bundle regions, and finally they merged and joined, and finally they merged with the intravascular cambium also, and finally formed a ring-like structure called cambial ring. Okay, what is the function of this cambial ring? Okay, when you observe this function of this face, okay, cambial ring, okay, it is involved in the formation of secondary tissues. It is involved in the formation of secondary tissues, that is secondary phloem and secondary xylem. The secondary, okay, that is okay, the xylem and the phloem that is produced from the apical meristem, we are calling it as a primary xylem and the primary phloem. Okay, in the same manner, okay, the xylem and phloem that is produced from this cambial ring, okay, from this cambial ring, we are calling it as secondary xylem and secondary phloem. So what is the function of this? Okay, the cambial ring becomes active. That means the cells, okay, once the cambial ring is formed, the cells that are present in the cambial ring, that means which are in meristematic condition, they becomes more active and they continue to divide and begins to cut off new cells. That means the new cells are formed, but there is no space to move in the opposite direction now. So what they will do, okay, that means they are divided into two layers, inner layer and outer layer. Okay, and the inner cells will form, okay, will form the new and they are moved towards the inner side, and the outer the cells that are present towards the outer region, they will also divide and they form the new cells which will cut off to the outside. Okay, that is the cambial ring becomes active and begins to cut off new cells both towards the inner and the outer sides. Okay, that means we are observing. Okay, that means the cambial ring which is formed. Okay, before it is a single layer, but a layer later now it is differentiated into two layers, and this two layers will fall. Okay, will continue to divide and forms the new cells, and these new cells okay will form towards the okay will form the cells towards the some. Okay, that means the new layer okay which is present towards the inner side will form the inner side, and the outer cell layer will form the new cells which will be pushed towards the outside. So inner side and outer side both new cells are added. Okay, so what is the fate of these cells? What is the fate of these cells that are moved towards the inner side and that are formed towards the inner side and that are formed to the outside? When you observe here, the cells that are cut off towards the inner side or towards the pith, okay, will be okay transformed into secondary xylem. Whereas the okay the the new cells that are cut off towards the outer side, okay, they will form the secondary phloem. They form the secondary phloem. That is what we can see. The cells cut off towards the pith mature into secondary xylem. Okay, that means they form the xylem elements, and the cells off towards the periphery, that is towards the outer side, okay, will mature into secondary phloem. That is the phloem elements. So, but when you observe here, but there is a difference in the formation of the cells. The cells that are okay, the cells that are cut off, okay, the cells that are present towards the inner side, they are more active. That's why they form more new cells. That's why we find formation of more secondary xylem rather than secondary phloem, because the cells that are present towards the outer region in the cambium, they are less active. That's why they produce less number of cells. Thereby, they form a okay less amount of secondary phloem. That is what we can see here. The cambium is generally more active on the inner side than on the outer. As a result, amount of secondary xylem produced is more than the secondary phloem and soon forms a compact mass. So when you observe here, so that means the cambial ring which is developed, okay, it will be differentiated into two layers, inner layer and outer layer. The inner layer is more active, so it forms more number of new cells, and these new cells which are formed will be undergone okay redifferentiation, undergoes redifferentiation, and results in the formation of okay secondary xylem. As the meristematic cells or the cambial cells that are present towards the inner side are more active, so it forms some large amount of secondary xylem. Okay, and the cells that are present towards the outer layer in the cambial ring, okay, it will also continues to divide and forms new cells, and these new cells will form the secondary phloem. As the outer cells are less active, less amount of secondary phloem is produced. As okay, after the formation of all these tissues, okay, because more and more secondary xylem is produced, so okay, it will become more compact. Okay, that means they are very compactly arranged. They are very compactly. As a result, okay, because more and more cells are formed, as a result, what happened, the amount of secondary xylem produced is more than the secondary phloem and soon forms a compact mass. Okay, because of the development of this secondary xylem and secondary phloem, okay, the primary and second phloems get gradually crushed due to the continued formation and accumulation of secondary xylem. So that means because of the formation of the secondary tissues, the primary tissues are crushed. They are degenerated, disintegrated. The primary tissues, that is primary xylem, primary phloem, cortical cells, everything will be crushed. Only the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem is but and some amount of secondary phloem is also crushed. Okay, maximum. Okay, that means the inner part of the stem. Okay, the inner part of the dicot stem is mostly occupied by the secondary xylem, because the cambial cells that are present towards the inner side are more active and they produce a huge amount of secondary xylem, and due to the formation of this large amount of secondary xylem, it will crush the primary xylem, crush the primary phloem, it will crush the secondary phloem also. Only a small patches of secondary phloem will be present. That is what he is saying. So the primary and secondary phloems get gradually crushed due to the continued formation and accumulation of secondary xylem. The primary xylem, however, remains more or less intact. That means only a small amount of primary xylem will be present. Okay, most of it is also crushed and get intact with the secondary xylem. So the primary xylem will be crushed, primary phloem will be crushed, secondary phloem is also crushed. Only a small amount of secondary phloem will be present, and whatever the primary xylem that is left, whatever the primary xylem that is left, that is also will be in contact with the secondary xylem. Okay, that is what he is saying. The primary okay, the primary xylem, however, remains. That means in any ways, okay, if it remains more or less intact in around the center, in or around the center. That means, that means at the central part, this xylem will be present and it is completely surrounded by secondary xylem. Okay, and next, at some places, the cambium forms a narrow band of parenchyma which passes through the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem in the radial directions. These are the secondary medullary rays. So here also we can observe the medullary rays. In the secondary, during the secondary growth also we can observe the medullary rays, but these medullary rays are present as a continuous layers. They are present in the form of patches in between the secondary xylem and secondary phloem as a parenchymatous cells, and this parenchymatous cells represents secondary medullary rays. Okay. Okay, you can see here in the diagram. Okay, here we can see. Okay, this is the cambial ring. This one, this inner circle is the cambial ring. So, okay, inner to the cambial ring, we'll find this is all the secondary xylem, and this is the secondary phloem. And next, we already said, okay, radially arranged patches of parenchymatous cells, okay, which represents the secondary medullary rays. These are the secondary medullary rays. Okay, this blue color is the secondary xylem. Okay, and this red color region, okay, is representing the secondary phloem. We can see more of secondary xylem when compared to the secondary phloem. Okay, and this is the primary xylem. xylem will be present at the center. Okay, it is surrounded by the secondary xylem. Okay, and next cambial ring, on the outer side of the cambial ring will find the secondary phloem. Okay, small amount, only small amount of secondary phloem is present. Okay. As the growth occurs gradually, okay, the secondary xylem will be increasing further, crushing the secondary phloem. Okay, that is about this form of secondary xylem and secondary phloem and the activity. Okay, what is the function of the cambial ring? And next, secondary growth not only occurs in the inner part of the plant body, the secondary growth also occurs in the cortex. Okay, the secondary growth also occurs in the cortex. Okay. Okay, that one we'll discuss later. First, okay, when you observe here, based upon the formation of this secondary xylem, that means, okay, when you observe, okay, in different, when you observe in the tropical region or temperate regions, we'll find certain seasons. Depending upon the season or depending upon the environmental conditions, the activity of the cambium will be differed. That means in some seasons, the activity of the cambium will be active, and in some seasons, the activity of the cambium will be less. Okay, that means when the conditions are favorable, the activity of the cambium will be active and forms a large amount of secondary xylem. And during when the conditions are not favorable at the time, okay, we can observe there is a reduction in the activity of the cambium. So less amount of secondary flow, okay, secondary xylem is produced. So that's what we can see here. So that we'll discuss under the spring wood and autumn wood. That means the wood here, the wood means secondary xylem, because it is the hardest part. Okay, that means that means the wood that we are using for construction purpose is so hard now, that is representing the secondary xylem only. Okay, that's why we are using the term wood also for secondary xylem. So the spring wood and autumn wood, now you can understand the wood which was developed during the spring season, we are calling it as spring wood, and the wood that is developed during the autumn season, autumn means summer. Okay, summer season we are calling it as okay, autumn wood. What is the difference here? So we already said no, the activity of the cambium. So the activity of the cambium is under the control of many physiological and environmental factors. So a large number of physiological activities and environmental factors determine the activity of the cambium or cambial ring. So in temperate regions, the climatic conditions are not uniform throughout the year. Okay, when you observe in temperate regions, we don't find much variations in the temperatures. Okay, we will not observe the extreme low temperatures, and at the same time extreme high temperatures we will not observe. Okay, the temperature range will be less. But when you observe the temperate regions, okay, in temperate regions, what happens during winter season, we'll find -degrees. That means we'll find snow falling and very low temperatures are maintained. At the same time, during summer, we'll find a little bit high temperature. That means, okay, when you compare with the minimum temperature, there is a vast difference with the high temperature. So we'll find a lot of differentiation in the range of temperature. Because of that, the activity of the cambium is also differed. So in temperate regions, the climatic conditions are not uniform throughout the year. Okay, the conditions are not uniform throughout the year. In the spring season, okay, during spring, okay, in the spring season, cambium is very active and produces a large number of Zalary elements having vessels with wider cavities. So during spring season, okay, that means the spring means it is the temp, okay, it is the conditions when winter ends and okay, and summer starting. Okay, that is the spring season. Okay, during spring season, okay, the conditions are very much favorable. As a result, okay, the cambium will also be actively growing or actively dividing and forming a large amount of secondary xylem. And this secondary xylary, okay, elements, okay, xylary elements have vessels with wider cavities. Means the lumen will be wide. So the wood formed during this season is called spring wood or early wood. So the wood which was developed during the spring season, because during this period the cambial, okay, the cells that are present in the cambial ring or the cambial activity will be high, and they form large amount of xylary elements, and these xylary elements will be having large lumens. Okay, and the wood formed during this season is called spring wood or early wood. Okay, spring wood or early wood. In winter, the cambium is less active and forms a few xylary elements, okay, that have narrow vessels, and this wood is called autumn wood or late wood. Okay, during okay, that means during winter season, okay, in temperate regions during winter season the temperatures are very low. It is not favoring the plant to grow effectively. As a result, the cambial activity will also be less. As a result, it will produce less xylary elements with narrow vessels, with narrow lumen in the vessels. And this wood is called autumn wood or late wood. So the wood that is developed, okay, are the xylary elements with wide, okay, okay, vessels. We are calling it as a spring wood or a early wood. Okay, that is produced during the spring season, and the xylary elements that are produced during the winter season, okay, are less, and they are having a narrow vessels, and this wood we are calling it as autumn wood or late wood. So how we can differentiate the spring wood from late, okay, spring wood from autumn wood or early wood from late wood means the spring wood is light in color and has a lower density. Okay, the spring wood is light in color and has a lower density, whereas the autumn wood is darker and has a higher density. So that means in 1 year we'll find both spring wood and autumn wood. That means the spring wood followed by autumn wood, and again spring wood followed by autumn wood. That means early wood followed by late wood. So how we can able to identify the spring wood or the spring wood will be light in color and it is having lower density. But when you observe the autumn wood will be dark in color and has higher density due to the deposition of different chemicals. Okay, due to the deposition of different chemicals in these cells become dark, and because of the presence of all these chemicals deposited, okay, the density of this, okay, this wood will be higher. And the two kinds of woods that appear as alternate concentric rings constitute an annual ring. So we already, okay, in one season we'll find both okay, spring wood followed by autumn wood, and the same in the next year again we'll find autumn wood, spring wood, autumn wood, like that. So okay, the light wood, okay, that means the light colored wood followed by the dark colored wood, light colored wood followed by the dark colored wood. So this concentric, okay, these two alternate concentric rings represents one annual ring. So in temperate regions we can estimate the age of that plant by counting this annual rings. Okay, by counting these annual rings we can estimate the age of that plant when you undergo the transversation of the wood of that tree. Okay, and if you observe the concentric rings based on the number of concentric rings, okay, or annual rings, we are able to estimate the age of that plant, because one light ring and one dark ring constitutes one annual ring, which represents 1 year. Like that, how many annual rings are present we will count, and we'll, okay, and we can estimate the age of that one. Annual rings seen in a cut stem give an estimate of the age of the tree. So when you cut that, okay, stem of a tree, okay, by calculating the annual rings we can estimate the age of the tree. Okay, we can estimate the age of the tree. Okay, that is. And next, another, okay, and okay, we are dividing the wood into two types based upon their nature. Okay, based upon their, okay, that is hardwood and softwood. Hardwood and sapwood. Okay, hardwood. What is this hardwood? In old trees, the greater part of secondary xylem is a dark brown due to deposition of organic compounds like tannins, resins, oils, gums, aromatic substances, and essential oils in the central or innermost layers of the stem. These substances make it hard, durable, and resistant to the attack of microorganisms and insects. This region comprises dead elements with highly lignified walls and is called heartwood. So the wood that we are using for making the furniture, okay, for making the doors and windows, all it comes from a heartwood. Okay, it is making that wood durable. Okay, if okay we are okay we are using the wood to know for doors and for different furniture, and this furniture will not get damaged easily. This is by the microorganisms or insects or some other. This is all because the deposition of different chemical substances like tannins, resins, oils, gums, alkaloids, aromatic compounds, and some essential oils. These chemicals which are deposited in the secondary xylem elements will make this secondary xylem dark and more durable, and okay, and they can, okay, and this wood can resist to the microorganisms and insect pests. Okay, and that wood which is darker, which is representing the secondary xylem, calling it as the heartwood. It mainly consists of dead elements because the xylem is mostly of dead only, no. Okay, and heartwood does not conduct water, but it gives mechanical support to the stem. Okay, the heartwood do not even involved in the conduction of water and minerals. It is involved, okay, it is completely becomes dead, and it is completely deposited with some chemical substances like tannins, resins, gums, okay, oils, essential oils, and all these they are filled and they do not even involve in the conduction. They are simply provide mechanical support to the plant body. Whereas, okay, the wood, the secondary xylem that is present towards the outer region. The peripheral region of the secondary xylem is lighter in color and is known as sapwood. It is involved in conduction of water and minerals from the roots to the leaf. Okay, from the root to the stem, leaf, and all that. Okay, that is so. The wood, the peripheral secondary xylem, which is lighter in color. Okay, that wood represents the sapwood, and this sapwood is involved in the conduction of water and minerals. Okay, that is about this heartwood and sapwood. Anybody is having any doubt regarding the spring? Okay, spring and heartwood and sapwood. And next, cork cambium. Cork cambium. As the stem continues to increase in width due to the activity of vascular cambium. So here, the width of the stem is increased due to the activity of the vascular cambium. The outer cortical and epidermal cells get broken and need to be replaced to provide new protective cell layers. So as more and more secondary xylem is produced, what happens? It is pushing the cells to the outer. As a result, okay, the outer cells get crushed and they are broken and making the phloem, okay, the secondary phloem exposed. But okay, it should not be done. So to protect the this vascular, okay, this vascular tissues, okay, the whatever the layers that are broken down, they need to be replaced. Okay, they can provide the okay new protective cell layers. Hence, sooner or later, another meristematic tissue called cork cambium or phallogen develops, usually in the cortex region. So, after the formation of okay, this secondary xylem and secondary phloem, and all the okay, this is that is a okay, the cells that are present towards the outer region of the secondary phloem, that is a pericycle. Okay, and next endodermis, okay, and next cortical cells, hypodermis, all they get crushed. All the cells or tissues that are okay present outer are crushed and they broken down. So to provide the protection to these layers which are present towards the inner side, okay, they need replaced so that they will provide protection to the inner parts of the plant. So how it is done means it is done by using another cambium that is developed usually in the cortical region or in the cortex region, that is called as a cork cambium, and it is also called as a Phallogen, because gen means formation. Phallo, that means it is involved in the formation of phellum and phalloderm. As it is involved in the formation of phellum and phalloderm. Okay, this layer or this cambium, we are calling it as a phallogen. Okay, as it is involved in the formation of these structures. Okay, that is called cork cambium or a phallogen. So phallogen is a couple of layers thick. Okay, that means it is also formed in two layers. Couple means two. So phallogen is also formed in two layers. It is made up, okay, made of narrow, thin-walled and nearly rectangular cells. Okay, it is made up of narrow. Narrow means thin. Okay, thin. Okay, narrow, long, thin-walled and nearly rectangular cells. The cells are of rectangular in shape. Okay, like a cambial ring. Okay, this cork cambium or phallogen also cuts off in two layers. Okay, phallogen cuts off cells on both sides, that is outer side and inner side. The outer cells differentiate into cork or phellum, while the inner cells differentiate into secondary cortex or phalloderm. Okay, so when you observe here, the cork cambium or a phallogen will be developed. That means as the the cells in the pericycle, endodermis, cortex, hypodermis are crushed. So that means these layers are disintegrated. So to provide protection to the inner cells, some new tissue has to be replaced, and that is done by the cork cambium or phallogen. Okay, that means the cells that are present, the cells which are left in the cortical cells or cortex will undergo redifferentiation, because the cortex is made up of parenchymatous cells now, and these parenchymatous cells will regain the capacity to undergo cell division. That means they transform into meristematic cells, and this meristematic cells which are developed from the cortex, we are calling it as cork cambium or phallogen. And the cells will continuously undergo division, and they are arranged in two layers, and they form in and they cut off. That means the cells continue to divide, and these new cells will cut off towards the inner side and forms the phalloderm or secondary cortex, whereas the cells that are cut off towards the outer side will form the cork or phellum. Cork or secondary cortex or phalloderm. So we'll find three layers. One is phellum, and the next one is phallogen, and the third one is phalloderm. So, and next when you observe here, the cork or phellum, the cells, the cells that are representing the cork or phellum are deposited with suberin, As a result, the cells are made impervious to water. The cells are made impervious to water due to the deposition of suberin in their cell walls. So the cork is impervious to water due to suberin deposition in the cell wall. Okay, and next the cells of secondary cortex are parenchymatous. Okay, the cells of secondary cortex are phalloderm are parenchymatous in nature. And next the phallogen, phellum, and phallodome are collectively known as a perioderm. Okay. So that means all these three layers, that is outer phellum, middle phallogen, inner phallodome, all these three layers together we are calling it as a perioderm. Perioderm. Okay, due to activity of the cork cambium, pressure builds up on the remaining layers, peripheral to phallogen, and ultimately these layers die and slog off. Slog off means they get detached. Okay, when you observe, okay, go to a old tree. Okay, we can observe the cracks. We can observe the cracks on the surface of the stem. Okay, if you try to place your hand into those cracks, and if you try to pull out those cracked structure, they can easily comes out. Okay, that structure that you are removing is nothing but the cork. Okay, the layer will peel off on the stem. Okay, that structure represents the cork. So that means as the cork cambium is more and more produced, okay, as it is impervious to water, okay, these cells will undergo death and slowly it get slogged. Okay, and next here you have to understand one word, that is bark. Okay, what is bark? Bark means phellum, phallogen, phallodome, and secondary phloem. That means all the tissue that is present outer to the cambial ring or secondary xylem. Okay, we are calling it as the bark. Bark, okay, when you observe the bark is a non-technical term that refers to all tissues exterior to the vascular cambium. That is the cambial ring or vascular cambium. Okay, that is that is whatever the tissue is outer to the cambial rim or vascular cambium. Okay, that is first out next to the cambial ring, what is present? A secondary phloem, and next to the secondary phloem, secondary cortex or phallodome, and next to the secondary cortex will find the phallogen or a cork cambium, and next outer to the cork cambium will find the cork or phellum, and all these four layers we are calling it as a bark. It is a non-technical term. Okay, therefore including secondary phloem. So bark is a non-technical term that refers to all tissues exterior to the vascular cambium, therefore including secondary phloem. So including secondary phloem, the cork, okay, the tissues that are developed from cork cambium and its. So bark refers to number of tissue layers, that is a perioderm and a secondary phloem. Simply we are saying as perioderm. Because perioderm means what? All the three layers, no. Okay, that is cork, that is phellum, cork cambium or phallogen, okay, secondary cortex or phallodome. All these three layers together we are calling it as perioderm. Perioderm and secondary phloem together we are calling it as bark. Okay, bark that is formed early in the season is called early or soft bark. Okay, that is during the spring season. The bark that is formed during formed early means here during spring season. Okay, early in the season or during the spring season is called early or soft bark. Okay, towards the end of the season or late or hard bark is formed during the autumn season or during the winter season. Okay, whatever the bark that is developed, okay, during the winter season, we are calling it as a late or a hard bark. Okay, name the various kinds of cell layers which will constitute the bark. Okay, name the cell layers. What are the different cell layers? We'll find secondary phloem. We'll find the secondary cortex, which are made up of parenchymatous cells, and the cork cambium or phallogen, which are meristematic cells. And next, cork or phellum, which are parenchymatous cells which are deposited with suberin, which makes the cells impervious to water. So all these four layers together constitutes the bark. Okay. And next, when you observe here, at certain regions, the phallogen cuts off closely arranged parenchymatous cells on the outer side instead of cork cells. Okay, that means at some regions, the phallogen cuts off. That means the phallogen will be cut off and the cork is also cut off. And the cork is also cut off. Instead of that, we'll find the parent, okay, instead of the cork cells, that is which are deposited with suberin, instead of that, we'll find the parenchymatous cells, okay, towards the outer region. And the cells soon rupture the epidermis, forming a lens-shaped openings called lenticels. So here we can see here, this is a lenticel. Okay, here we can see the cork cambium. Okay, this cork cambium will be cut off, or phallogen will be cut off, and the epidermal cells are okay. Not epidermals. That is a cork cambium. Okay, cork cambium and the cork both are cut off, and the parenchymatous cells that are representing the secondary cortex will grow, and they get exposed. Okay, and we can observe. Okay, a lens-shaped structure is developed because of this. And this lens-shaped openings that are present on the stem, we are calling it as lenticels. Okay, why these lenticels are developed? These lenticels will carry oxygen directly to the tissues which are present, okay, to the living tissues that are present on the inner side of the stem. Because we already said the cork or phellum is okay, the cells of cork or phellum are deposited with suberin, which makes the layer impervious to water and gases. So then how the internal structures will get oxygen? So to avoid that, what happens at some points on the stem, we can observe the cork cambium and the cork are cut off, and the parenchymatous cells will extend up to the tip, a lens-shaped opening. And this is okay structures we are calling it as lenticels. Okay, lenticels is the characteristic feature of the stem. Okay, lenticels permit the exchange of gases between the outer atmosphere and the internal tissues of the stem. These occur in most woody trees. That means in most of the woody trees. That means the stem, the outer part of the stem, which is so hard. In that woody trees, we can observe these lenticels are developed. Okay, that is these lenticels are like openings that are present on the leaf, like stomata. How the stomata are helpful in the exchange of gases? In the same manner, these lenticels, which are open present on the stem, will help in exchange of respiratory gases. Okay, they directly take oxygen to the living cells or living tissue that is present towards the inner side. Okay, by diffusion process. Okay, that is about the secondary growth in case of the stem. Anybody is having any doubt?
No, sir.